Mm-hmm. Hello, goblins. It's Chris, Eldritch Pipes. It's an episode of this week's Pipes. What's been going on? Well, I've been casting resin at a fantastic rate of knots, trying to keep Micah's shop fully supplied. So that's been fun. Coming up with some new colours. I'm going to be sending him some of the black and white. He's seen it in pictures, but he hasn't seen it in person. So he's going to get a sample of black and white. A sample of a red that I really like. I may have shown in a previous video the sample of the red that I've got that I really like. And I've just done a cast, it's still in the pot, of a yellow. And that will, I think, more or less round out the colour wheel. We've nearly got an orange. Nearly. So, we'll be almost there. And then once we've got the basic, the core colours, then we can start going off in interesting other directions. Right, I'm smoking some jarred Penzance. I'd taken in the past to smoking the Germain's 1820 flake, which is the basis for the Penzance blend. But I thought, you know what, that Penzance has been sitting in the jar for ages. Because I've not been gravitating towards the Latakia blend. Something about today, it just called. And yeah, it is a really lovely blend. You forget how oily Penzance is compared to other Latakia blends that can come over as smoky and herbal. But Penzance is oily. It's smoky and oily. It's quite unique, I think. And its softness is just wonderful. How it gets to be like sort of full flavoured but still comes over it as a soft blend. I don't really know how it does it. But anyway. Alright. Oh yeah, this week I've mostly been watching, because of the boy, he's introduced me into Jujutsu Kaisen. No, not Jujutsu. Oh, I can't remember. Jujutsu Kaisen. Anyway, it's a manga thing. It's quite crazy, and I can barely follow along with what's going on. It's nuts. But the characters are cool. Anyway, this week's pipes. Now the first one, this is a pipe for Pat in Singapore. I haven't even sent him pictures of the pipe yet. So, hi Pat, here's your pipe. You might get a little deja vu. is a black sandblast acorn with the black and white marble. We're coming down to a consensus of the name. Midnight Smoke. Something like that. You can see some nice ring grain on display. Plateau rim. More ring grain going off. You've got the straight grain going down the shank, which is pretty cool. The main difference, the key difference even, is that this pipe fitted for 6mm filter. There you go. Look, twins. Twinses. These next two are for one customer, for Joe. It's funny, you know, I was just thinking, obviously I deal with all kinds of people, and everyone, understandably, goes about their commission in a different way. That's everyone from people who just say, oh, I know what shape I want this. And I say, what about colours and stone? They go, oh, I'll leave everything else up to you. Call that dealer's choice. Then you get people, most commonly, who will say, you know, what colours do you want? You know, is it a black sandblast? Is it a contrast blast? What do you want for the stem? And they will either have a good idea because they've been watching the videos, or they'll ask for like a range of what I do. The easiest thing to do is to point somebody to my Instagram page, and they pick from there. And then at the other end, you've got people who know exactly what they want and start giving me lengths of shank and lengths of stem, things like that. Joe isn't quite that far in the end. In fact, he sort of, I think you'll agree, Joe, he came with a mix of ideas, of potential ideas. And as I was about to start the commission, I realised we hadn't actually nailed down what the choices were. So Joe was good. Pretty much in quick succession, we nailed down what the look for each pipe was going to be. And so, one of them is I would call it an Eldritch standard, and then one we went an interesting way on, and I'll show you when we get to it. First one. Of course, an Eldritch acorn. Smooth rim this time, instead of plateau rim. There you got your ring grain going at the bowl. Kind of medium blast on this one. Again, ring grain in full display on the bowl. You can just see the ring grain curving down the shank as well. And he said, I like black bowl, something like a jade for a stem, and the fir green was the closest that I came to like a jade. In fact, it does come off like a jade marble. In fact, I'm thinking that when we wind up stocking it, we might actually call it jade marble. It's a cool green. That's nice. And then for the other one, well, I'll show you and then we'll discuss it. So, it's an author. I hope that's obvious. With earth and ivory stem, and he'd asked for like one of the darker pieces. So, due to the way that resins work, with the earth and ivory rod, in about the middle of the rod, everything's nice and sort of 50-50. The bottom half of the rod tends to get much more heavy on the ivory with swirls of the earth. And it's the reverse for the top. The top is earth heavy with swirls of ivory, as it is here. And that's what Joe asked for. Fortunately, that was a piece that I had. I got a custom more. But then, for the finish, he referred to a pipe in a video like a year or two back that I called Oxidized Yellow. Because there's a number of ways to bring out grain, to like highlight grain. Quite often a contrast stain or a contrast blast is what we use. But obviously both of those methods are for bringing out straight grain, pretty much. You can sandblast, then dye very dark, then knock it back with, some sandpaper or something, and dye a lighter colour. But you remove the crisp detail when you do that. There is another way. And that other way is the way that I've employed here. So in this way, it's actually stained the lighter colour and then darkened. The depths are darkened. If it was miniature painting, you might call it shading. Something like that. You're darkening the shadows, as it were. So without going into details of the method, but you need a bride that can take a lighter look of that. And we were lucky, we were all right with it. And by default, it sort of like almost pre-ages it, gives it a nice kind of like an aged look, like a patina. I think it's very attractive, but it's not one that people have asked for a lot, so it's not one that I've done very, very often. In fact, this is only the second pipe that I've ever done this look on. It's nice, it just highlights all the details. So you got the ring grain, and the straight grain going off as well. You can just see it all. And a nice dark piece of earth and ivory. So, very cool. Very happy with that one. It's nice to get a different look in every now and then. You may have noticed I don't have my coat on. It's gotten warm again. Like for this, like the end of this week, it just suddenly, the temperature picked up again. I don't know what's going on with the weather anymore. It's like 26 degrees today. It's like, it's summer over or what? All right. Yes, so that's it. That's it from me. All right. I will be back, all being well, next week. So, with more pipes, I shouldn't wonder. So until then, take it very easy. Your loyal pipe maker.